What's up everyone, thank you for checking out this video. If you're new here, my name is Jack and I'm super excited to be talking about some of my favorite music of the year today. Just to preface, by no means am I a music critic or anything of that sort. I just thought it'd be fun to kind of throw together a list of some of my favorite albums of the year because it was such a good year for music. I really wanted to take the opportunity to kind of push out and recommend some albums in the off chance that someone might try something new, and also open up the floor to getting some new recommendations because I always kind of like expanding what I'm listening to. But before we get into the top 10, I just want to give some honorable mentions for some albums that I liked a lot. These are a mix of albums that I liked but I just didn't listen to enough for them to really kind of qualify for my top 10, or albums that had some songs that I loved on but the album as a whole I didn't really listen to or didn't do it for me in the way that some of the other albums did. But these are still some really good ones and definitely recommend checking them out. I'm just going to run through the honorable mentions really quickly. They're not in any particular order. Alfredo 2 by Freddie Gibbs and the Alchemist, Sincerely by Uchis, The BPM by Sudan Archives, Baby by Dijon, Essex Honey by Blood Orange, The Art of Loving by Olivia Dean, Don't Tap the Glass by Tyler the Creator, Equus Asinus by Men I Trust, Debi Fotos by Bad Bunny, Virgin by Lorde, Getting Killed by Geese, Let God Sort 'Em Out by Clipse, Willoughby Tucker I'll Always Love You by Ethel, Cain, Revengeseekerz by Jane Remover, and then Eusexua and Eusexua Afterglow by FKA Twigs. There were some ones that were getting close to creeping up into my top 10, but didn't quite make it. But I'm going to go a little bit more in depth for the actual top 10, starting with 10th place. Alright, so in 10th place we have Equus Caballus by Men I Trust. Men I Trust is a Canadian indie pop rock band that's been around for a really long time. I've been a huge fan of theirs for I don't even know how long. At least 6 years by now. This is their 6th album and the second they released this year. And I think the second one was a little bit stronger. Obviously it made the list while the other one didn't. I think it's a bit more sonically interesting than the other one, and it kind of varies more between songs, and it also just has a little bit more energy. It's subdued and melancholic, and I would almost say in some ways hypnotic, but it was nice to kind of hear them deviate from that a little bit and kind of dip their toes into some different genres like R&B and funk and jazz. It's super easy listening, really good for studying or cooking or whatever, which makes it really enjoyable, but it might not be as emotionally compelling as some of the other albums on this list, which is why it's sitting at 10. In 9th place we have In the Blue Light by Kelela. This is a live recording album, so basically it's a recording of 2 nights of shows that Kelela did back in 2024 at the Blue Note Jazz Club in New York. And it's a really interesting mix of a lot of her music. It features music from her entire discography, so mixtapes and albums spanning the past decade. She also does some covers, 1 of Joni Mitchell and 2 of Betty Carter, which I think is really interesting. I didn't even clock that those were covers until I went back and was kind of doing some research and re-listening to the album, and I was like, that's a Joni song. She repurposes and reorganizes a lot of the songs and their instrumentals, which kind of results in new listening, which I think is really interesting, and she finds a way to kind of make everything super cohesive and flow really well. It's great for nighttime listening, kind of similar to the previous one, but this one is more of like a underground jazz club type vibe, which obviously is where she recorded it. Though I will say the one thing that makes it sit kind of at 9 rather than being higher up is just that I think it works mainly as an album as a whole. I wouldn't really necessarily go back and pull specific titles from it and listen to those individually, but I think if you have the time to sit down and really listen through this full thing, you're going to be really impressed. In 8th place, we have Tether by Anastasia, and this album came out of left field for me. One of my friends recommended it to me, and I had never listened to this artist before, and I was completely blown away. This is a really interesting album. It's a mix of genres. I wouldn't even necessarily know how to describe it. When I was doing some research online, a lot of the common themes that were coming up were folk, country, R&B. This is Anastasia's debut album. She's been in the industry for a while, putting out singles and EPs, but this is her first full-length album, and it's fantastic. She has an incredible voice. It's very unique, insanely powerful. The arrangement for the songs is really powerful. You have a lot of longer songs with build-ups to some amazing vocal performances in the second half. The exploration within her vocals, within the genre, within the instrumentals and the melodies is really, really cool. And this is an album that is pretty far outside of the realm of what I typically listen to, so the fact that I like it so much is a testament to how fantastic of a vocalist she is. To have this be her first full-length album is incredible. I'm super excited to see what she does next. Highly recommend this one. 7th place, we have Double Infinity by Big Thief. I love Big Thief, both the band and the individual members, their music, like Adrian Lenker and Buckmeat. And this is their 6th album. They've been putting out music for almost a decade now, if not over a decade. And I was really excited for this album. I liked a lot of the singles leading up to it. We had just come off with Adrian's album Bright feature last year, which was incredible. So I had a lot of high hopes going into this one. And at first, my initial reaction was kind of meh. Like, I liked the singles, but I listened to the album through a couple times. I thought it was good, but I think it definitely pales in comparison, at least on first listen, to some of their other works like Dragon New Warm Mountain, I Believe in You, and Capacity. This one at first was a little off-putting, also because sonically it's a little different than some of their other albums. I was just going to put this in the honorable mentions, but then I went back and re-listened to it as I did for all the albums I mentioned in this video, and I was kind of blown away by how much I liked it. I had kind of forgotten about it in the big scope of the year, but it's a really, really strong album. There's, again, some wonderful lyricism on here, great vocal performances, especially by Adrienne, who can, on this album, pivot from making really fun, cute songs and then also stab you through the heart with some of the more downbeat ones. Her voice is incredible, and they utilize it perfectly on this album. One of the tracks, Incomprehensible, is definitely in my top 5 songs for the year. In 6th place, we have Fancy That by Pinkpantheress. This doesn't even technically qualify as an album, it's a mixtape. This one's a lot of fun. I think Pink is one of our most exciting producers. She's really talented and it really shines through on this album. She's able to utilize a lot of samples in interesting ways and just make fun and catchy beats with, you know, short run times and quick pivots between songs. She did a great job with this. She also got some help from other producers like The Dare. When she was promoting this mixtape, she said that she hoped listeners could kind of see and hear her growth, and we certainly can. Everything is super catchy, everything flows really well and is really cohesive, and each of the songs are really good at kind of establishing their own unique identity, which makes them really listenable on their own too, which is great. She also released a remix album this year with some huge names like JT, Zara Larsson, Raven Linnae, Blade, the list goes on. I still like the original mixtape better, but both are really cool.
I'm so confused.
In 5th place, we have kind of a funny pick, Addison by Addison Rae. If you had told me 2 years ago that one of her albums would be not only my top 10, but in my top 5 albums of that year, I wouldn't believe you. For those who aren't familiar with her, she's a TikToker, turned dancer, turned actor, now turned singer-songwriter. And it's just been one of the more impressive pivots in modern pop culture. She's put out a couple things before this. She put out a single and then she put out an EP. And I like some of the songs on the EP. They were fun, but nothing crazy. So I was really surprised when this album turned out to be so strong. It's a really fun pop record that wears its influences on its sleeve. You can tell that she's inspired by like the Britney Spears and the Madonnas in the early 2000s and 90s pop music of the time. There's a great mix of some more upbeat dance music and some slower stuff as well. And the vocals are strong too. I'm very curious to see what she does from here, because this was a really impressive pivot, kind of a complete 180 from what she was doing before. You know, we've had a lot of different TikTokers and social media influencers attempt to kind of break into the music scene, and a lot of times it hasn't worked, or if it has worked and they've become popular, it hasn't been very good. So it's nice to see an artist succeed both in terms of popularity and as well as kind of creating good music.
Could be those deserving ones you try to understand.
In 4th place, we have Melt by Not For Radio. Not For Radio is basically just Maria Zardoya from the Marias. The band didn't break up or anything, but she kind of went off and made her own solo album. I have been listening to the Marias for years and years, probably even longer than I've been listening to Men I Trust. Their past 2 albums, Cinema and Submarine, were definitely my top 5 albums for each of those respective years. And I was really excited to see what she would do on her own, and what resulted was a very solid album that I was happy with. It's a consistent album. There's some great songs on here, some emotional writing. It's a little more downbeat than Submarine, their last album, and I would say it's in line with some of the band's earlier work on the Super Cleans. But this is just another good dream pop, indie pop album.
Watching the time was on our side. It's ticking away until the morning light.
In 3rd place, we have Through the Wall by Rochelle Jordan. This is another album that was not on my radar at all. I don't even know how I found it. It kind of just came up. It wasn't like anyone recommended it to me. It's a dance pop R&B album. It's definitely one of the higher energy picks on this list. This dominated my listening habits for a while, especially this past semester. It ended up being the only album from this list to end up in my top 5 on Spotify Wrapped this year. I listened to this album, especially when I needed to kind of either like wake up in the mornings or when I was going on runs. There's a lot of energy there. It's a fun and exciting sound, and it's well produced, and you can tell she has a lot of experience, and she's confident and self-assured in what she's putting out there, and it makes for really fun listening.
Is it a crime to be unsure in time?
In second place, runner-up, we have Son of Spergy by Daniel Caesar. This album just barely made the list. I started listening to it about a week or two ago, and when I was putting this list together, I originally had it at 10th, and then just over the past couple of weeks, it shot up to second place. But this is a great album. This is the 4th album from Daniel Caesar, and this was a big surprise for me because I've listened to some of his other stuff. I haven't listened to his albums all the way through a bunch of times, but I've listened to a lot of individual songs off them, especially the ones with like Cali. He has a lot of good collaborations. When this came out, it actually wasn't getting great reviews, especially compared to his other work. People were calling it his weakest album. So, you know, I kind of wrote it off. I was like, I'll get to it when I get to it. Thank God I listened to it. I think this is probably his strongest album. The vocals are amazing. I really like how he tackles the themes in here. Talks a lot about masculinity, about family, about faith. There's a lot for all different types of people to resonate with. There's some gorgeous lyrics and some really heartbreaking ones too. There's also this sense of optimism and strength that kind of comes through everything, which I really liked and appreciated. I thought it was super intimate, and there was also some great features on here like Bon Iver and Blood Orange, and I think everything kind of came together really beautifully. Bonus points as well for the album being easy to learn on the piano.
You can call me delusional, 'cause I'm imagining things.
In first place, we have Lifetime by Erika Casier. I knew from the first listen that this was an album I was going to love. It's a really nice dream pop ethereal album with some fantastic production. Casier actually wrote and produced this entire thing, which I think is so impressive. The album was originally going to be called Midnight Caller to reflect a form of communication at night, which I think ties into the identity of the album itself, because when you're listening to it, it does feel like a very late night album. This is a quote I pulled offline. I'm not articulate enough to say this, but I thought it was really interesting. Kind of sums up how I feel about the album and why I find it so beautiful. It reflects the feeling of time picking up the older one gets, growing aware of mortality and death, but still being grateful for what was, is, and will be. And like, yeah, when I first listened to this, I was really only kind of listening to it for the production and the instrumentals, which I thought were beautiful. Now, it might not be for everyone. I've talked to a lot of my friends about this album, and all of them like it, but to varying degrees. It is a much quieter, slower album. Someone said on Twitter that they wanted Okelu and Erika Casier to put a song together, and someone said it would be the quietest song of all time.
Sound like this.
And they're right, but as you can see through most of my list, I really like a lot of that slower, more melancholic stuff. If that's your vibe, then definitely check this one out. It's a very consistent album all the way through. There's no skips on it and some great samples. It flows very well, and like I said with a lot of other albums on this list, it's a really good like study album or just kind of rest or relaxation album. But how it kind of differs from some of the other ones I mentioned is that I think all of the tracks on this can completely stand on their own if you pull them out one by one. I really like the aesthetic and the vibe of everything that's going on here. It's clear that it was really well thought out. That's why it's #1 for the year. Definitely check that one out. But anyway, thank you for checking out this video. I hope I sounded like I knew what I was talking about. Fingers crossed. Music criticism is something that's kind of new to me, and I didn't really want to be critiquing things. I just wanted to be talking about what I like, so I hope that is what came across. Please check out these albums. They're all great, and definitely if you have any other recommendations that I didn't have on this list, please let me know. Put them in the comments below or message me or whatever. And there was also plenty of other music from this year that I love, but it just wasn't in album form, like a lot of either really short EPs, like 2-song EPs or singles, or just stuff that was put out there on its own that I didn't put in this video. But I put together a Spotify playlist of my favorite songs of the year, so I'll link that in the description down below if people want to check that out. And yeah, thanks for watching. 2025 was a great year for the channel, and I'm excited. I'm really gonna try to increase the amount of content I put out in 2026. I hope you'll stick along for the ride.